All right, welcome to another edition of the Living Boldly with Purpose podcast. I am Dr. B, and for those of you who are watching live, we tried to make it work on Instagram. Instagram was not cooperating with us today, so they don't get to hear and have this live, but the rest of you do. So if you are on YouTube and if you are on Facebook, we love to have you here and appreciate you being on the Living Boldly podcast. And we're going to do this live a few times a week. The rest of it will also be recorded and then put onto what we call Buzzsprout. And for a lot of you guys who've never even heard of Buzzsprout, Buzzsprout allows us to do the audio of our podcast into different stream platforms like Apple Podcast or Spotify, or there's just all kind of streaming services that, if you can think of it, is probably being pushed out there. And then as far as our video, it gets out on YouTube. And then Facebook as well. And so, and we will put it on Instagram eventually as we try to figure out how to make it work and get the technology to do what it's supposed to. And so, but so excited today, get to talk to Kelly today. And Kelly is going to, not only just tell us about her story and who she is, but how she's making a difference on the planet and an impact. I had Kelly the other day, somebody asked me, how do you know when you're making impact? And I said, well, I guess you don't really know until after, because it's one of those after things. But the way that I try to make impact is when I walk out of my door, and let's say that I have this desire to make somebody else's life a little bit better than it was before I walked out the door. And if I've done that, then I feel like I've made impact in some way, some fashion. If somebody's life is better today than it was yesterday, or somebody's life is better this hour than more than they were last hour, it's a good thing. And so glad you're on today. I've asked Kelly, like I do all of our other guests, to share her story. And I can tell that her story can start at anywhere in life that you would like it to. It can start with, at your mama's womb, or it can start somewhere in the middle. But we want to know who you are and can't wait to have that. So thank you for being on the show today. Thank you for your willingness to take time out of your day and all the things that you got going in order to share it with us today on the Living Boldly with Purpose podcast. And so Kelly, the floor is yours. We'll chop it up after your story, but I can't wait to hear it.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. My story starts, and you said I could start in the womb if I want. I'm not going to start that far back.
Okay.
I would say my story starts 2017. I'm 50 years old. I'm a graphic designer, and I am in a deep, deep depression. And I had postpartum depression when I had my son. And at this point, he's 12 years old, and it never went away. It just got worse and worse. And so I was on lots of antidepressants over the years, trying to find something that worked. And I had just kind of gotten to the point where I was a zombie. Like, the medications made me numb. They didn't help the depression. They helped the anxiety attacks, which was good. But I was not living. I was just not dying every day. It was actually a really hard time. And it spilled over into my work, and I ended up getting fired. And at that point, I started thinking, what is the point of me? If I can't even work, what is the point of me? And my depression got much worse very rapidly. And I was starting to think maybe my family would be better off without me. And, I had this 12-year-old son who was a miracle baby. It was a miracle that we were able to finally get pregnant and have him. And so I thought, okay, this is not good. I don't want my thoughts to be going to how can I leave the planet. And around the same time, I got invited to this 3-day life-changing seminar.
Mm-hmm.
And in my state of depression, I just thought, ew, no, that sounds disgusting. That sounds so annoying. And so I said no. But you know how sometimes you have the voice of reason in the back of your head, mm-hmm. telling you things you need to hear. So this voice started saying, Kelly, you could probably use some life changing, don't you think? You should probably go to that event. So I emailed the person back about a week later and I said, okay, I changed my mind. I'll go to this event. So that day comes. I get up and I take a shower probably for the first time in a week, to be honest. And I get dressed in something other than pajamas for probably the first time in a month. And I get in my car and I drive to Salt Lake City, which is it's about an hour away. So it was kind of a long drive. And I get there and I go in and it's in the Assault Palace, which is a huge convention center. And it was totally empty. And I thought I was in the wrong place. So I'm walking through these empty, cavernous halls, questioning my life choices. And all of a sudden, I hear this music from way far away and around the corner. And so obviously, I parked on the absolute worst side of the building I could have parked on for this event because it's like a mile away through this building. So I make my way towards the music. I come to the doors and just the positivity and the happiness like beating out of the doors made me want to throw up and turn around and run away. Everybody in there was like happy and dancing and hugging people they hadn't seen for a while. And I was just like, what have I done? I can't go in there. But the voice said, you're going in there. Get yourself through that doorway. I'll take care of the rest. So I went in, I got registered. I sat as far away as I could from everybody, like the very far corner. And I braced myself for whatever was going to happen. I didn't know, but I knew it was going to be horrible. Well, it ended up being amazing, of course. And
yes.
it was a beautiful experience. I cried most of the 3 days. I just had, breakthrough after breakthrough. And by the end of it, I was bawling that it was over and that I had to go home. So it did turn out to be definitely a life-changing seminar for me because it totally changed my life. Well, while I was there, I met one of the other attendees said, well, if you like this event, you should come to this other event that happens every month. So I started going to 6 full days of personal development seminars every month for the next 8 months.
Wow.
And
okay.
I know, like I was addicted. And I realized probably 2 or 3 months in that I had a big problem. And my problem was that I didn't want to go back to being a graphic designer. I wanted to become that person changing lives from the stage, which was horrifying to me because I am so scared of public speaking. In fact, the last time I got asked to speak, it was in church. I didn't even answer the guy. I turned around and I ran out of the building, got in my car and drove home. I think he took that as a no, but I never actually answered him. I was so scared. So I have this problem of wanting to be a speaker and also being absolutely terrified of public speaking.
Okay.
What do I do? Well, I just kept going to these events. I kept doing the work, journaling and breakthroughs and, keeping my commitments to myself and changing my life. And I noticed that after a few months, that desire to change lives grew so big that the space for the fear of public speaking got like this big.
Oh, wow.
It was so tiny, it didn't have any power over me anymore. So I signed up for this year-long speaker training, and I started to learn how to write a speech and how to deliver a speech and how to do events. And I found myself at a public speaking competition, and I was just there to watch. I was not signed up for it. I just wanted to see these people trying to be speakers because it was kind of like what's that show, like American Idol, but the other one with the 4 judges, America's Got Talent.
Gotcha.
It was like America's Got Talent because they had 4 judges, and they didn't have buzzers though, but they had a big stage and they had 4 speakers and each one came up and gave a 10-minute speech. And then the judges would give them like 10 minutes of feedback. Here's what you did good. Here's what you need to work on. Here's what would have made it amazing. And so that's what I was there for. I was there for the free public speaker coaching.
Gotcha. Okay.
So the event ends and it's amazing. I'm so glad I went. And right at the end, the MC stands up and he says, "We've got one spot left for next month's competition. Who wants it?" I did not want it. But apparently, part of me wanted it because I found myself standing up and walking towards the MC.
I love it. Oh, that's so good.
And I had no experience yet. I had just decided maybe I could speak, maybe someday, right? I just started this program, but I was I was still in month 1 of it. And apparently you can black out while walking, because I discovered suddenly I found myself at the exit of the building and I had no memory of how I got there. So apparently I blacked out while I was walking. So I realize I'm at the exit and I'm like, no, I can't leave. Yes, I have to leave. No, I have to stay. No, you need to get out of here. Well, luckily, right next to the exit was a bathroom. So I turn and I go into the bathroom. I fling open a stall door and I sit down on the toilet and I start a huge argument with myself. Kelly, remember, you want to be a speaker. This is a really great opportunity for you to figure out how to write a speech and get some free speaker coaching. But no, you'll be terrible. You're too new at this. They'll laugh you off the stage. You'll be a huge failure, and then you'll never try again because you'll be so embarrassed. So this argument goes on for at least 10 minutes. So I am just serenaded by the sound of flushing toilets. And I'm there so long that industrial orange air freshener rains down on me like 4 times before I get out of there. So finally, my inner speaker wins the argument. I stand up. I walk out of there like a woman on a mission, looking for the MC to sign up for the competition. But I'm also secretly hoping, since I'd been in there so long, they've all packed up and left. So I don't know, fortunately or unfortunately, he's still there. So I go up behind him and I go, "Hey," like I kind of hope he doesn't really hear me. And he turns around and he goes, "Oh, hey, I thought I saw you leave. Did you forget something?" Yeah, I forgot that I want to be a speaker. So is that spot still open? And when he tells me, yes, I can have it, like, I don't know what happened, but all the fear just kind of exploded at once. And I start snot crying. Like, I'm crying so hard, I can't even talk. I can't see. The snot running down my face. And this poor guy, I think he thought I was maybe going to need to be taken to the ER or something.
Wow.
He looked so scared. I probably traumatized him. He probably has PTSD now. But he goes, "Well, if you want the spot, we'd love to hear from you." And he holds his pen out. And I take it and I somehow sign my name through the tears. And I say, "I'll see you next month." But I think he probably thought he would never lay eyes on me again.
Yeah, there's no way she's coming back.
There's no way she's coming back. Well, I did. I came back. I wrote a speech. I practiced it every day, and I came back ready to win, or at least not get booed off the stage. And I get there, and I'm number 3. We draw numbers. So I have to sit there through 2 other speakers, just trying not to throw up, just trying not to pass out, because I am still so terrified at this point. So I get up, and when he calls my name, I just kind of put my blinders on. Don't trip, don't trip, don't trip. Just make it to the stage. And the stage is really high. It's like 4 feet tall. I'm only 5'2". So the stage is like this high on me.
Wow.
So I'm climbing this huge staircase up to the stage. And I noticed that he's still talking about me. And I was like, what could he possibly be saying this long? He's never really met me except for that
Mhm.
And then I remember what he might be talking about.
Is
And
that you crying,
sure,
right?
yeah, sure enough, I hear him say at this point, because I start listening to him, you guys, Kelly came in here last month. She left and she came back because she knew she had to speak, but she was so scared. She was crying her guts out. I can't even believe she came back. This girl has got to be terrified out of her mind, so give her a warm welcome.
No more pressure, right?
No pressure at all. Oh my gosh, it was so embarrassing. So I get up there and I go to the front of the stage and I'm like, "It's okay. That was the worst introduction ever, but it's okay. I'll be fine." So I hang my toes over the edge of the stage, get as close as I can to the judges, and I stand there and I look at them and I look at the whole room of people. There's like 30 other people there. And I suddenly realize I've completely forgotten how to start my speech. Like, I kind of remember my speech in general, but I've forgotten the opening. Like, you really want to open strong, right? And so I'm horrified. I'm standing there thinking, okay, remember, how do you start your speech? And this whole time, the audience is just sitting there staring at me. And I am thinking, you know, maybe they think I'm doing a really powerful pause thing
Yeah.
to set the tone.
Mhm.
Totally not. I totally can't remember my speech. And then I realize if I don't say something soon, they're going to realize what's happened. So I say, all right, let's just start talking. So I open my mouth. I don't even know what came out. I do have a recording of it, so I could go back and look, but I just started talking. And I ended up giving a version of my speech I had not yet ever given.
Mhm.
It was kind of ad libbed now. But it was amazing. Like, I didn't die. I didn't pass out. I didn't throw up. I was able to speak for the whole 10 minutes. And I noticed I even made some people laugh, and I even saw a few people get choked up. And
Wow.
I thought,
Get the emotions. Yeah.
"Oh my gosh, I'm really doing this." And I didn't die. Well, I finished. The judges give me all the feedback. The number one feedback is, "You look like your feet are glued to the stage. You've never moved at all." I was like, "Yeah, that's true. I didn't move." Uh, but it was pretty good feedback. And then the next person went, they came back at the results and they announced that the winner was me.
Mm-hmm.
I was so excited and also shocked. But that was, that was my domino. Once I had that one talk down, it just got easier and easier and easier. And my message changed over time. That first speech was about overcoming depression because what was I an expert in right then?
Mm-hmm.
Overcoming depression. And over the years, I've become, experts in different things. I've gotten more excited about other things. And so my message has changed over time. But man, I just kept going. I started a podcast and it's in the top 5% of the whole world. I don't
Really?
do it. Yeah, I don't do it anymore. I had 108 episodes and then I retired it. It's
Okay.
still in the top 5%.
What was it called?
I don't even know why. I wrote a best-selling book, and I've spoken in London multiple times, and I host speaking cruises where I take people out to the middle of the ocean and make them face the world's biggest fear for a whole week, and then I release them back to civilization with a tan and a plan.
Wow.
And I get to cruise to my heart's content because cruising is my favorite thing. But if you had told me that year in 2017 when I turned 50 that year, if you told me you are going to completely change the course of your life, become a public speaker, and then become a public speaking coach, I probably would have throat punched you.
Yeah. Wow. And no more graphic design because, well, I mean, you probably do it for just fun
I
now.
do it for me. Yeah, I do it like for my website. I do it for because I'm a speaking coach now. I help them make their websites and stuff. So I do still do some graphic design every day, but not not for another company, just for my own clients.
Gotcha. So you have, this is just so crazy because I'm thinking about identity, right? And I'm thinking about what it takes to, I mean, totally not just a little bit of identity change. You are talking about massive identity change.
Right?
Because you go from this person who is depressed,
Yeah.
that doesn't even want to hardly live,
No.
and all the things that go along with that.
Yeah.
And something in your spirit, something in who you are said, I guess I need to try something else. And what is it? Just walk me through that identity change of just even being able to go through that when you feel that way. And is it because of the people that surrounded themselves and loved on you, or is it just because there was just something in you that allowed you to at least see enough daylight to try to get out of your situation? Help me with this a little bit.
I think it was probably a combination of both. Being around all of those people every month at those personal development events, I felt so supported. I felt like I could literally do anything. Because, they really pump you up at those events, and they give you tools that you never had before. So I did honestly feel like, man, if I really wanted to do that, I could probably do it if I just keep trying. But I think probably the thing that helped me the most was telling myself that I wasn't that person anymore. That person just hadn't discovered herself yet. She had to learn who she was and why she was here. And so what if it took her 50 years to figure it out? I'm a late bloomer.
Well, yeah. I mean, tell me a little bit about your family during this process. And, how I can't imagine they were super supportive. I bet they were just happy you were doing stuff. But, when you come home and you tell them, oh, by the way, I'm going to go do a speech next month, and I'm going to have to spend all this time preparing for it because I don't know how to speak. I'm sure they looked like you were just like a crazy woman that is standing in our house right now. Like, did an alien take you over? I mean, what was their process there?
Right? It's like I was replaced with an alien or something. My husband was just so happy that I wasn't in bed or playing video games anymore, because that's where I turned.
Oh, you really played video games? Right?
I was on my computer playing video games all night long, and then I would sleep all day long. And he's like, you know what? I don't care what you do. I'm just glad you were out of bed and off the video games. So he was just supportive because I finally had something I was excited about. He thought it was
like the Candy Crush or like the war stuff where you were killing people.
Like World of Warcraft kind of games.
Okay. Yeah, you were really wanting to take out everybody.
I was fighting.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, it was so bad. I can't imagine. I'm sad for him that he had to live with me like that for so long. So yeah.
Now he gets to live with you.
Yeah.
And God just has this amazing way of, yes, we know what pain feels like, but it's hard to remember the actual pain. I mean, you remember that you were in pain, but to physically feel that pain again is super hard. Then when he probably goes back and says, I remember those times were dark, but these times are so much better. He gets to travel with you and stuff, right? As you guys in place. Yes. So he's living his dream through you, I guess, or he wants to be a speaker now or something like that, right?
You know what? I make him be the MC at my events.
Oh, I love it.
He loves it.
Oh, good.
He is totally on board.
Gotcha. So now, obviously, people think that, because of where you're at now and all the accolades and all the things you have now, that your first speeches were like these fantastic speeches that the audience was standing ovation, you were waving out of the room. Maybe talk to us about, you're not very good at this when you start, right?
No, they're terrible. Yeah. When I have watched the video of that first one, and I just think, how on earth did I win that contest? That was so bad.
Maybe it was a courtesy.
I don't know. I don't know.
Oh my
It was
God.
funny though.
Oh,
I
so
guess it touched him or something.
yeah, well, like you said, it got the people's emotions.
Yeah.
They probably through story they could feel you, and I think that's where when you connect with others, so many people will go and they try to make a speech or do a talk, and but it's all facts or it's all things that
So
they
boring.
believe they want
Yeah.
the other people to know instead of going, I just want you to connect with me. And I'm scared to death as I'm up here, and I'm sure you can feel it. And I'm just going to tell you my story that connects, and I'm sure that's what you were able to do. Oh my gosh. Talk to me a little bit about your book. You said you wrote a best-selling book. Have you written more than one now, or you just, are you still writing, or you just said, I'm one and done? This is how I do things. Talk to me about it a little bit.
I've written a lot of little ones since then.
Okay.
I just put them on Amazon, like the KDP thing, Kindle Direct Publishing. But the first one, I was really experimenting with how to get a goal accomplished at that time, because I never really felt like I accomplished my goals. I'd wish for things, I wouldn't get them, and then I'd say, well, yeah, because I suck, or yeah, because I don't know how to do anything. It was always because there's something wrong with me. So when I went to these events and I realized, you basically create your own reality by how you talk to yourself, how you think to yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So I started experimenting, and I was like, okay, well, God wants me to be happy.
Mm-hmm.
God wants to help me get what I want to get.
Mm-hmm.
So am I going about it wrong? And so I started thinking, okay, well, I'm going to do the vision board. I'm going to do the positive affirmations. I'm going to do the visualization, and I'm going to see what works. Well, I ended up coming up with a 6-step formula called the Drive-Thru Method, because it is the same steps as getting food from a drive-thru, and you can use it to get anything you want. If you follow the 6 steps and the thing you want is moral, legal, and ethical and does not break the laws of physics,
Mm-hmm.
you can get it. So that's what the book is. It's called The Drive-Thru Method of Manifesting, the 6-step formula to get anything you want. Yeah.
Wow. That is so cool. And thousands of people, I'm sure, have got back to you and said, it works. This is something that I was able to do.
Yeah.
And so now when you did your podcast, was your podcast like a shoot off of this book and calling, or okay?
Yeah, it was called The Queen of Manifesting, and it was how to reach any goal. So I would just kind of do episodes on things I knew people had asked me about. I had a pretty big TikTok channel at the time. So if somebody would ask me something on TikTok, then I'd go make an episode about it. Okay. So it was pretty good. I interviewed other people, like, how do you get your goals without giving up? How do you keep going? How do you decide when it's time to quit? How do you do this? How do you do that? So there are a few interviews, but mostly it was just me teaching people how to get really specific goals.
Well, and if I can, I'm just, talk about it a little bit, because I'm not a fan of these goals that have this specific date on them that says, I'm going to make this goal. It has to have it right now, because when you don't hit, because you can't control that, right? Only God can control when it happens. You can control the activity.
Yeah.
And then people get, maybe like you were, depressed because they made this goal. It had a timeline on it. It didn't happen during that timeline, and now their life is over. So maybe talk to us just a little bit about this goal process and how somehow we've come up with this society that has decided that all of our goals have to be smart and measurable, and and I'm not saying that they shouldn't have some of those aspects to them, but when we try to take over God's job, I just go,
it never works.
It can't work.
Nope. Well, I don't put deadlines on anything. There's no dates on my goals. And I feel like the best way to let God help you get the thing you want is to just be grateful that it's coming.
Mhm.
And I feel like if you've got the desire for something that's moral, legal, ethical, and doesn't break the laws of physics, then God wants you to have it, or you wouldn't have had that desire for it. So basically, I feel like you've got to get out of God's way. You
Okay.
got to be grateful for it.
Mhm.
So my formula is, so first you get really clear on what you want. And then second, you visualize yourself with it with gratitude. And then third is you say it out loud. You got to pray for it. You got to tell God what you want. You can't just keep it locked up inside you. And then fourth is you've got to clear your mind for step 5, which is receive an inspired action step. And then step 6 is do whatever the action step is that comes to you. Sometimes my action step is go clean out the kitchen junk drawer because, you know, order is the best way to invite better things into your life.
Yeah.
And if you're living in chaos, there's not a lot of room for better things in your life. So that's, and I am a little bit of a cluttered person. I have ADHD. I hate cleaning. I'm not very organized. So often God was like, go clean out your closet, go clean out your junk drawer, go clean out your car. And then it would just kind of open, you know, declutter the path to the thing you want. It wasn't always that, but it was often.
Mhm. You say that the formula is like a drive-through at a fast food place. Kind of help me with that parallel with those two things. I can kind of see, visualizing the hamburger while you're at the thing.
Yeah, exactly. So that's how it matches up with the drive-through, because first you've got to decide where you want to eat. So do you want to go to a chicken place or you want to go to a salad place? You got to get clear on what you want and clear on where you're going to go do it. And then second, visualizing it with gratitude. You just look at the menu board and there's pictures. So it's really easy for you. Step 3 is you've got to say it out loud. When you're in the drive-through, you got to roll your window down and tell the speaker thing, tell the little microphone what you want to eat. And then step 4 is you got to be quiet and wait for the answer. So if you're in the drive-through and you roll up your window and you crank your radio, that's going to be a problem because you don't hear what the inspired next step is. Usually that'll be, 585, pull to the first window, right? There's some instructions that you have to do.
What did you say? I didn't get anything. Yeah.
Right.
Repeat it again.
Oh my gosh. I know, it's those microphones are the worst.
Mm-hmm.
And then step 6 is drive to the window, hand him your money, and take your food. So you achieve your goal. You get the thing that you wanted. But something I found is that a lot of people, they'll go through those 5 steps, and then when the 6th step comes, they chicken out and they just drive away.
They just drive away.
They don't pay. Wow. They don't pick up their food.
Yeah.
They say, never mind, I'm not worthy, or that's too scary. And then they end up not getting what they want.
And I love the part where you just said, like, you don't pay, because there's a cost that's associated with receiving the in part, right? It's not that you go to the window and they just hand you everything that you want, like a gift. And I think so many of us wait for, okay, so I made the order. Thank you, God, I ordered it. And do you expect to now go to the window and it gets handed to you?
Yeah.
And without you having to pay any price.
Yeah.
Like, no way. Oh my gosh. I got a vision, because when I was in college, I was a track athlete, and we would travel to these different states, and we would have downtime when we weren't running the meets. And so we would go to places that were where we might be eating at Olive Garden, but then there would be a Jack in a Box that was, next to it or something like that.
Yeah.
And the guys on my team would run behind the speaker and they would go, "Can I take your order, please?" And then they would say, well, we don't have that here. We have shoes. Would you like to go? And so, I mean, and they would, for whatever reason, they couldn't hear the person on the real speaker, and they heard. So I was just thinking of this whole process here of, what if, even for a YouTube video or something of somebody doing that behind the speaker and saying, hey, would you like your life to be better? And they going through that whole process would be, oh my gosh, so funny because I mean it was just, and then we didn't have. I was back in the late '80s, so we didn't have camera phones or the ability to film all of that stuff. That was just the shenanigans that I guess were being played. Oh my gosh, what so. As you change your identity, now you're writing these books, and you did 108 episodes, and then you stopped.
Yeah.
And so what was the reason for? I mean, I'm sure you're still doing stuff and you're coaching and that kind of stuff. But as far as, did you just hit the pinnacle of this is what I wanted out of life, and now I'm looking for something new? How did that, I guess, evolve?
That's when I made the shift from helping people get their goals to helping people write a speech and get on stage and find speaking gigs. So because I shifted what I was doing with my clients, I was just like, I don't really have the time or the bandwidth to keep putting into this part of my business that I don't really do anymore. So I started a new podcast. And it's for speakers, and it's still a baby podcast. I only have 25 episodes of that one. And it's called The Kelly Effect. And it's all about getting people ready to give their speech or to give their speech better. And one of my favorite things to do on there is to have people come on with a recorded speech that they gave on stage. And we watch it together. And I pause all through it and say, see what you did right there? That was amazing. Or see that moment? If you had done it like this instead, you would have blown the audience out of their chairs. So that's a really fun thing for me. So now my energy out goes into speaker training and that speaker training podcast. And so the manifesting part, it had its purpose, and I feel like it ran its course, and it's still out there for anybody that wants it. I don't really promote it or do it anymore, but I've always got a place in my heart. But I'm all about the speaking now, sharing your message more effectively.
Oh my gosh, I love it. And then in ways you can get back, because, and I could be wrong, you don't seem like this high-powered CEO that wants to build a kingdom or where this is a place where I'm going to have 5,000 employees that are all helping people learn how to speak. You sound like more of the mom and pop. I just want to help one person at a time, two people at a time, maybe small coaching groups.
Yep.
And for other folks, there might be I do want a kingdom. I do I don't know if you know a guy named Patrick Bet-David, but he does this like major podcast that's out there. When he was getting going, I was in the office with him when we were doing financial services together.
Oh, cool.
Now, but he was this corporate, I'm going to take over the world, and he's done a lot of it. And, today, and it's so funny because he's shifted, all the things we talked about in personal development, all those things. And now he's literally doing like interviewing Trump and doing all this political stuff. And I'm like, who are you? Because we never, who cares? That's all the stuff we told people not to watch, right? Like, don't watch the news.
Oh my God.
News is it's just bad news all the time. And now he's like one of the number one people in the world who talks about news every single day. And I just kind of say that because I love the fact that you've kind of stayed to what your blessings are, you're good at, or what God's gifted you with, without having that. Maybe He just didn't give you that vision to go do, but the impact of the world that you're making is just got to be so fun. I mean, maybe talk about your cruise a little bit and how enjoyable that is. You get to go on this fun boat that feeds you and takes care of you and pampers you at the same time. You get to help people.
It's amazing. I love it so much. It all started because one of my graphic design clients, I had a little side business for graphic design while I was a graphic designer, but she wrote travel guides, and I did her book, and I said to her one day after I'd been on my second cruise, Becky, I love cruising. Is there any way I could cruise for free? And she said, Oh, girl, it's so easy. So she taught me how to do a group cruise as a business. And so I did my first one in 2019 and I made a profit. And I thought, what? This is amazing. So I think I'm on number 9 now. And oh my gosh, it's so fun. My favorite one of all is when we go to Honduras and we hug sloths. There's a sloth sanctuary in Honduras. That is my favorite place on the planet. I've been there 3 times now.
Well,
I want a sloth. I want to own a sloth, but I can't. So I go there and hug them.
but that seems like that would be so time consuming to hug a sloth.
The handler picks it up already in hug form.
Okay.
And puts it on you. And so
Okay.
it's an instant hug.
Okay. I say, I can just see you having to be there for days.
No,
Oh my
that's hilarious. Yeah, they speed it along for you.
They help. I was going to say, because I just, my vision of that, is obviously the zoo Utopia movie, and just trying to get the DMV guy to stamp something. Oh my gosh. Well, one of the things that I've been putting together,
Yeah,
and because I just like where God is saying, hey Brian, this is you've done all these things, you've worked in all these different places, and I'm trying to create a community, and maybe you can kind of talk me through a little bit of it. And the community is personal development, and it's going to be called the Becoming the Person Universe, and it's about how do you become the person that God put you on this earth to be. And there's my number one section that I want to have in there is connection, because I think we're moving into a time in our society, in our world, where connection is going to be more important than ever, because we have AI, we have the internet, we have all these things that pull us away from people, and all these fake lives. Yes, all these things that we watch and we see in people's best life, but best life isn't created in an instant. It's not something that happens right away. It comes through relationships and through connections. And so maybe you can just kind of talk to me about what connection looks like and what relationships, even what I can offer, as part of, I want to do some speed dating, not maybe speed relationship things where, in 5-10 minutes and we talk to each other, and then we go into rooms that are specific to things we want. And I want to do scavenger hunts, and I want to figure out how people on cruises, and, whatever it is that we got to do so that people can connect weekly, maybe with people that they don't, because you were part of the folks that had this depression, probably didn't have tons of great connections during that time.
No.
And then you also were willing to step out, and now you connect with so many people. So maybe just talk to me a little bit about love and connection and how important it is, and maybe something you think we could do.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I feel like we are moving away from connection ever since the pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like we've never really recovered from that. And, we don't tend to be as gregarious as we used to be. We're not as social as we used to be. And I feel like that is a huge problem. So I love that you're building a community where people can connect again. That is amazing. I love events. Live events are so fun. And the energy is just different in person. It's amazing. Some of the things I like to do at my events, you might enjoy this, is I like to do challenges. Like not super scary challenges. Well, maybe.
On fire.
Yes, I have done that.
But that's a super scary challenge, right?
That's a pretty scary one. But you know what? A lot of my challenges are a little scary because I feel like when you're with a group of people and you all do something that is kind of scary,
Mm-hmm.
like you open yourself up to connection so much faster than if you're just like sitting around networking.
Yeah.
So, one of my favorite things, it's called the Mousetrap Challenge.
Okay.
And I get some helpers and I have an entire bin of real mousetraps. And so I have all my helpers come in. I send everybody out of the room.
Mm-hmm.
My helpers they set the mousetraps and they put them all from one end of the room to the other. And then we put all the chairs around the walls. So it's like a big stage,
Mm-hmm.
a lava pit. The floor is lava, but the floor is really mousetraps.
Yeah.
And so people come in and I make them take their shoes off. And then I buy a new big package of like really thick Hanes socks
Mm-hmm.
for every event. And I say, if you want a pair of big, thick socks, you can wear these. Otherwise, no shoes. And then I blindfold them.
Oh my gosh. I love it.
But they get a helper. And
Okay.
usually I give them a team. So they get 3. They can have a person holding each hand because some people get really tipsy when their eyes are closed.
Uh-huh.
And then they have a guide. And so they have this whole team. So they build a really strong bond with this team
So cool.
that gets them across the room barefoot and blindfolded through all of these set
Mhm.
mousetraps. That's one of my favorites. Like I do that a lot. It's amazing. Builds huge instant connection.
That is so
Do
cool.
that.
I know. Yeah, they got to find a way to do that online. And my mind goes straight to, okay, so what I'm going to do before, I'm going to tell them that they're going to be blindfolded. I'm going to tell this person's the guide, but they're going to watch me blindfold their guide first before I put their blindfold on.
I love it.
Oh, they're just freaking out even more. Obviously, take the blindfold off the guide, but but to have them think that, oh my God, you got to guide me through this.
I got a blind guide. What?
Oh man, what a great example. As I'm figuring out, so all of the way that I formed it is all of the folks that have been on my podcast are my founders, and they get to come into the community and they get to sell their whatever, whether they're coaches or whether they're doing cruises, whatever it is. But I also want them to give back by doing a webinar or a seminar or something online that every single day, that there's something that somebody can plug into that's going to help them become the person.
Awesome.
And so maybe one person will do a prayer group and they're going to be part of like a a community that does that, or maybe somebody around. I'd love you get to come in and if you want do public, maybe a thing on public speaking, and then and then I'm gonna have book clubs and hopefully take the book and walk through the book. But I want the community to be a place where people can come and go, I'm ready to improve myself. I was so amazed is I had a friend who's been teaching this thing called to Govern, and he says, I know you've done all this personal development stuff in your life, and he's like in his 50s now. He says, I've never done any of it. He says, this is so amazing to me that you spent all this time. I'm like, but there are tons of people out there who, because we get into this community that we're like-minded people, right?
Yeah.
How many different seminars and events and if I got for the last 40 years, and I'm like, well, doesn't everybody do that? And what I realized is no, they don't. What do you think, after you've been through all this, like a percentage of time that a person should kind of work on themselves in order to hit their dreams and their goals and manifest this? How much of their waking hours, I guess, or just total hours in their life working on them? What's your thoughts on that?
Well, I really like the idea of a power hour.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't have to be an hour. It could be 3 hours or it could be 20 minutes. But if you wake up in the morning and you are instantly first thing, like setting yourself up for success that day by, tuning in, having gratitude, doing something for your own personal development, working on your goals, journaling, meditating, visualizing, whatever it is for you, I think that that is the most amazing way to start your day. And I think it should be for life. So maybe an hour every day where you just say, okay, I am going to develop myself. I'm going to commit to myself. I'm going to make my life better by spending this time working on me every day. And it's a non-negotiable.
I love that. And I don't know how, like, I walk 3 miles every single morning.
Good job.
But that's my power hour.
That's your power hour.
Power hour, and the things that I listen to. And
yeah.
Sometimes it's a YouTube video. Sometimes it's
perfect
prayer. Sometimes I'm just trying to read. And while I do that, so I might listen to a book. Right. And I spend more time on that. But what my thought process is, I just turned 60 this year. And so, I'm thinking, well, there's going to be hopefully there's not a time that I won't be able to walk 3 miles. Like I'll just walk one day and then I won't walk no more. That's kind of, but if there is a time, like I'm going to do this in a wheelchair, I'm going to do this.
Yes.
So if I'm thinking about walking and somebody's going to walk me in a walker, I don't know if I could not have that hour. You live in Utah, I live in Denver, so it snows, but I still, I'm going out there in the blizzard. I'll go to the gym or do, or down here. But most days it's not so cold that I can't walk unless it's actually, blizzard outside. But I don't know how people go through their days in their life without having that time for, whether it's introspective or something like that they're working on them. They truly are.
I feel like they're living life without a map.
Yeah.
It's sad.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I as I think about your book and your story, and I think I wrote a book. It's called "There Is No Tiger." I guess I get a copy here. There is no tiger. And it's all about overcoming overthinking and controlling anxiety, and it's all based on those things and those beliefs that we have that that fear, right? We think fear. We hear the acronym false evidence appearing real or whatever.
Right.
But to me, fear is like a real and present danger. Snake drops on the path right in front of you. You got to make a decision. Fight or flight at that time, and you're going to do it. But what we fear is what we don't know is going to happen. We fear this, the fear like public speaking, right? It's this fear of what other people are going to think about us, not a true fear that is you're going to die if you actually do it. And you made that exact, hey, I was still alive.
I didn't die.
I didn't die. And that tiger, it's based on the, back in the caveman days is, somebody had to watch the cave because the tiger was real and could pounce on the village and eat somebody. But the tigers that we put into our life right now, and you're such a great example of that. Yeah, this is a tiger that I overcame. And now, do you think there's any tigers at all in your world of the future that you can't overcome?
I don't think so. I think if I try hard enough and I have my mindset right and I bring God into it, I think I'm probably unstoppable.
Yes. Oh, I love that so much. Oh, so Kelly, I have been like super selfish because I've been asking you. I love your story, and then when I started asking questions, they were also it could help me. So I want to know, is there something that and I know we're live, and I don't see anybody commenting right now saying, "Hey, yes, you were very selfish, Brian," but
you are not.
Yeah. What didn't we talk about that you want to make sure that we talk about, and then maybe how can people tune into the things that you're doing? I'm gonna figure out a way to get her into the community. But until we get her there, then what are some things that you want to make sure everybody connects to?
Well, if somebody is watching this and thinking, I want to be a speaker, it's time. I've got a message. It's time for me to share it. I do have a really thorough, detailed workbook that helps you go through your life stories, find the ones that could be put into a speech, helps you figure out who your audience is, and get the basic outline of your speech going. So, like, it's a really good first step. I would love if everybody got that workbook and got started on figuring out their message. Anybody that's got a message to share, do it. Stop waiting. Right?
Yes, absolutely. How do they get the workbook? How do we get it?
It's at Kelly K. Walker, the way my name is spelled here,
Okay.
.com/workbook.
Okay. Gotcha.
Easy to find.
I'm going to get the workbook, Kelly, because, I always think, I go out and I do speaking, but sometimes I ask myself, how do I make sure that I'm an effective speaker? How do I make sure that the message that people go, oh, you did such a good job. Well, but did it impact your life? Like, are you going to go take something that I talked about today and actually make it, part of what you do? And I think for sure that the things that you're sharing and the things that are in the workbook can even help somebody like myself who gets to do some speaking, a lot that can still guide me into being more effective, into being better. And so, and then like she said, if you are a person who is thinking about, man, I'd love to be, but I am so scared. I promise you this is going to be the workbook that's going to be for you, and the things that you're going to be able to take from it and be able to move forward with it. And then
go ahead. I gave you the wrong website for that.
Oh, okay.
It's speakingcoachkelly.com/workbook.
Okay.
Sorry.
Okay. So we will make sure that we get that. I just wrote it down, speakingcoachkelly.com/workbook.
Yeah.
Well, I'll make sure I put it in the show notes. And so if you're watching this, here's the cool part. If you're watching this live, you're going to be able to get the recording. If you are watching this and you've been watching it as a recording, this is, talking about my special edness or my brightness, right? Because I would used to watch podcasts and I would sit here and I would take notes like I'm going crazy taking notes and trying to make sure I caught everything, not thinking that all I have to do is hit the pause button and then I can write it down. And then I can go back 10 seconds and then I can write it down. And hello, Brian. Like, I'm thinking I'm at a live event and,
that's so funny.
trying to get it all written down. I'm like, I can't read my notes. Oh, I can just stop and pause and write it all down. So for those of you who think like me, pause. Go ahead and take it. Rewind. Go back. Write it down. Get the workbook. Oh, man, this has been such a pleasure and fun talking to you. I promise you, Kelly and I aren't done. This is just the beginning of our relationship.
Yes, I feel that too.
Oh my gosh, she lives close enough. She's going like, why are you at my house? What are you I said, well,
you want to do the mousetraps, don't you? Let's do it.
I love it. I can't wait to be in a room now. And I can blindfold the guy. It's gonna be so cool.
That's so mean. Surprise!
Surprise! Oh my gosh. So if this is your first podcast, go ahead and hit subscribe and notifications and all those buttons. That'll allow you to go to. If you go to becometheperson.com, that is the community that we're starting. You're going to want to be part of the community because it's going to be something that I promise will improve your life. And we will have many, many people that are going to come in and just help you become that person. Kelly, do you have any final thoughts that you'd love to just share with our audience and our group today?
I think I would love to share this. Okay. If you feel the stirrings to do something, stop fighting it. If you're feeling the stirrings to do something, it's because you're meant to do it. And life is short. You might not have tomorrow. Mm-hmm. Go do it. Take action. What's the worst that could happen? Embarrassment. That's nothing.
No, and you remember all the times you were embarrassed before? No.
I know, right? You will forget it. At least 5 years max. You'll never remember it again.
And you won't feel it. You won't feel that embarrassment even again. No. You might feel it in the moment, but you won't feel it 5 years later. Yeah. You might remember it, but you're not going to feel what that felt like. Yeah. But if you do succeed and you do get your dreams, you're not going to forget what that felt like. You're not going to forget those moments that you were on and you did. Yes. And oh my gosh. Well, cool. Well, thank you for another just incredible episode of Living Boldly with Purpose. I want to tell you guys that you are God's greatest gift. He loves you if you allow him to. You can do anything, just like Kelly said, that you put your mind to. I look forward to seeing you guys on the next one. Have an amazing, awesome, just incredible awestruck day. Talk to you later.